They say when trouble wants to enter a home, it doesn't knock, it creeps in smiling and wearing white. Umuzu was just like any other village, full of life, laughter, and the quiet chaos of everyday people. We had our quarrels, our harvest, and our gods. Life was simple, not perfect, just simple. That was before he came. He called himself Iyanu, the mouth of God. He came out of nowhere, barefoot, drenched by the rain, carrying a long wooden staff like some ancient wanderer. His robe was white, almost too white, like it didn't belong to this world. People gathered in the square as he stood under the giant iroko tree, his voice calm. The Spirit led me here, he said, to heal, to warn, and to save. At first, we were skeptical. Who wouldn't be? But things started to happen. Small things, very strange things. He prayed near the dried up well, and 3 days later, it rained. He touched Mama Ibere's belly, the woman who had been barren for 12 years, and 2 months later, she swore she was pregnant. People started whispering, then shouting his name, the prophet, the true man of God. We didn't know Mama Ibere had gone to the city clinic earlier that year. We didn't know the rains had already been forecasted on the radio. All we saw was power. And power, my friend, is a dangerous perfume, sweet enough to blind even the wisest noses. The village chief, Oduka, welcomed him with open arms, gave him a room in the palace, a golden seat at every council meeting. His name was now inked in every corner of Umuzu. Weddings, funerals, naming ceremonies, people wouldn't start anything without the prophet's blessings. But not everyone bowed. Mama Titi, the church woman, you know the type, head always wrapped in white, Bible tucked under her arm like a sword. She was no small voice in Umuzu. She led the morning prayers, sang the loudest in church, and feared no one but God. When she heard about the prophet, she squinted and shook her head. The Holy Spirit doesn't behave like this, she said. There's something off about this man. And just like that, the first resistance began. A young hunter full of pride went to greet the prophet one morning. You, Iyanu said, must not enter the forest tomorrow. The Lord showed me your death. The hunter laughed. Your Lord must be watching the wrong person, he said. I've hunted this wood since I was a boy. He went anyways, brave and foolish. 3 days later, they found his body, torn apart in the deep bush. Iyanu stood at the burial, his face buried in his hands. I begged him, he whispered, but he would not listen to the warning of God. The people wept and believed. But what they didn't see was how Iyanu had sent 2 of his boys into the forest the nights before, boys with torches, sticks, and sharp stones. They didn't kill the hunter, no, they just scared him, chased him deep into the wild where the real killers waited, teeth and claws, hungry from drought. After the hunter's death, fear settled over Umuzu like morning fog. You couldn't see it, but you could feel it in your bones. Every cough was a curse, every dream was a warning, and only one man held the answer, Prophet Iyanu. He became more than a man. He became the voice the people trusted more than their own thoughts. Don't let your daughter marry that boy, he told one family. He carries the spirit of poverty. Just like that, the wedding was cancelled. Papa Arinze's son is marked with betrayal, he told another. Days later, Papa Arinze was attacked on his farm. No witnesses, no suspects, just blood, and the prophet who already saw it coming. The people believed he saw what no one else could see. What they didn't know was that he caused what no one else could stop. He was no prophet, he was a puppeteer. Even in the silence of fear, one voice refused to go quiet. Mama Titi. She wasn't a priestess, she wasn't a herbalist. She was just a God-fearing woman with a Bible in her left hand and truth in her mouth. Every morning, before the sun could rise, she prayed loud enough to shake the chickens. Father, she cried, scatter the camp of deceivers. Let the truth that hides in shadows be dragged into your light. People called her stubborn, others called her crazy, but she wasn't afraid. This man is not sent by God, she said in the market square one afternoon, and if you cannot test the spirits, you will drink poison thinking it's wine. They laughed, some rolled their eyes, but the prophet heard her, and he didn't like it. That same week, her roof collapsed, 2 of her chickens went missing, her nephew fell sick without warning. It is God punishing her, people whispered. The prophet warned us, those who speak against the anointed will suffer. Mama Titi smiled, not because she was happy, but because she knew. She knew the devil could dress in white and quote scriptures too. Meanwhile, Inyano built his shrine at the edge of the village. White stones, giant cross, a bell that rang every morning. People gathered like clockwork, knelt and listened. I see visions, he said. I see snakes in the wombs of our daughters. I see death in the sons of our children. I see betrayal in your own compound. And they listened. They sold their goats because he said they were cursed. They avoided their neighbors because he said they were witches. They gave money, lots of it, in exchange for deliverance. And those who questioned him, misfortune always followed. Ngozi, a mother of 2, stood in a village meeting and dared to ask, if this prophet truly hears from God, why hasn't God revealed where my missing son is? The square went quiet. You could hear the wind stop. The prophet turned to her slowly, his eyes cold and steady. Ngozi, he said, your child was not taken by man, but by your sins. 2 days later, her heart burnt to the ground. No one saw who, but everyone remembered the prophet's words. The fear was complete. Friends stopped greeting each other. Families no longer sat at the same table. But Mama Titi, she kept praying and watching. The devil doesn't always come with horns, she said one day. Sometimes he comes wearing a white robe and carrying a staff. But now, even the elders were whispering, is this truly God or something else? But no one dared challenge him. Not yet. Because the man they feared controlled their future. What they didn't know was that his past was catching up to him. Someone had started digging, quietly, watching and waiting, and the first crack in the rope was coming in. Every kingdom of lies has a weakness. It may stand tall for a season, but even the tallest masquerade must remove its marks one day. In the 3rd month of the prophet's reign over Umuzu, something unexpected happened. A stranger arrived. He wasn't dressed like us. He wore trousers too tight and his shirt too loud. He walked like someone who didn't belong, but he wasn't lost. His name was Emeka. He said he was just passing through, looking for a distant uncle, but his eyes, they were asking questions. Unlike the villagers, Emeka didn't run to the shrine. He didn't kneel before the prophet. He watched, quietly and patiently. One afternoon, while at the local palm stand, he overheard 2 men bragging. We scared that hunter so well, he ran straight into the lion's den. One laughed. Prophet gave us extra coins that night. Emeka froze. That night, he sat under the stars with Mama Titi, who had offered him food and shelter. A man of God doesn't pay others to carry out his prophecies, Emeka said. Mama Titi nodded slowly. I knew it. I knew something was off. From that day on, a quiet alliance began to form between Mama Emeka, Mama Titi, and a few others who had still had their eyes open. They started asking questions no one else dared to ask. Where did the prophet come from? Why did he have no family? How did he know every secret before it happened? Emeka did more than pray. He listened. He followed. One night, He threw one of the disciples into the forest, and what he saw made his blood freeze. A hidden hut inside, scrolls of names, plans, black candles, charms, and sacks of money. On the wall, a list of villagers, each with a note beside their name. Refuse offering, spoke against prophet, next to be punished. This wasn't a shrine, it was a command center of manipulation. Emeka took what he could, a torn paper with names, a symbol drawn in chalk, and proof. Meanwhile, the prophet stood boldly in the square, calling out a woman for harboring a spirit husband. She fainted. The crowd screamed, more power for him, more fear for everyone else. But change was coming. One Sunday morning, Mama Titi stood in front of the church and declared, "We have tolerated darkness long enough, and I say this with no apology. This man is not sent by my God." Some people hissed, others walked away, but a few stayed. She began to gather them, quietly, carefully, not for protest, not for shouting, but for prayer, for truth, and for courage. And in the quiet corners of Umuzu, truth began to breathe again. The prophet noticed, "There are enemies amongst us," he shouted during his next gathering. "Spirits sent to destroy God's anointed." He pointed towards Mama Titi's compound. "Pray against them, curse them." But this time, not everyone followed his voice. The rope was cracking, and soon the man inside would be exposed. Storms don't always announce themselves with wind. Sometimes they start with whispers and build into thunder. That's how it happened in Umuzu. For months, the prophet had with fear, untouchable, unquestioned, wrapped in holiness. But fear, my friend, can only stretch so far before it snaps. One morning, Emeka and Mama Titi sat before Chief Udoka and village council. They brought proof, a charcoal-drawn map of the prophet's hidden hut, names of villages he marked for punishment, and a written confession from one of his boys, a frightened teenager who had finally broken down. The chief listened, eyes wide, hands trembling. "Do you know what you're saying?" he asked. "You're accusing a man of God." Emeka leaned forward. "No, sir. I'm exposing a man who has pretended to be one." Chief Oduka was silent. Then he stood, looked at the councilmen, and said quietly, "Summon him." That evening, the village square was packed. Everyone came, not out of loyalty, but out of curiosity. Something felt different in the air, like the spell had cracked. Prophet Iyanu Olowa stood in the center, calm as ever. His robe freshly pressed, his staff in hand, his smile colder than usual. "They accuse me," he said, "because the spirit in me exposes their darkness." But Emeka stepped forward. "What spirit tells you to harm innocent people?" He lifted the list of names, held up the torn paper. "This is your handwriting. These are your orders. This is not from..." The prophet's face changed. Just for a second, a flicker of fear, then anger. "Lies," he shouted. "The devil is using this stranger to turn you against me." But Mama Titi stepped forward too, Bible in hand, voice steady. "If it is truly God you serve, let him defend you now." The crowd murmured. Then, from the back, someone shouted, "He told me my child would die if I didn't bring money." Another voice said, "He said my sister was cursed, but she was only pregnant." The square erupted. Iyanu raised his staff, but no one bowed. Instead, they backed away, and for the first time, he stood alone. The storm had arrived, not from the sky, but from the people. That night, Chief Oduka ordered a search for the prophet's shrine. What they found ended all arguments. Piles of offerings hidden in barrels, black charms used for manipulation, a ledger of names and threats, and a locked box of letters from past villages he had fled. Umuzu was not his first victim, but it would be his last. At dawn, he was stripped of his robe, his staff broken in two. They didn't beat him, they didn't stone him, they just watched him fall. Because sometimes the deepest punishment is exposure. As the sun rose, Mama Titi stood quietly, her Bible pressed to her chest. She didn't gloat, she didn't laugh, she just whispered, "The truth always comes for its own."